Then is this story not canon to the rest? I guess that's okay. Hana Matsutsu, for you the final mystery. Time-killing chapter. I know and trust you with all the mysteries hidden within Higurashi when they cry. However comical it may be, if you have reached any conjectures, then you have passed. This final novel is a meager reward for you. Conjecture is impossible. You have the right to reject this story. I guess that technically... Hello, drugstore cowboy. Hello, guy. I guess all that technically means that this isn't, not, fully canon? Let me adjust this. Oh. There you guys are. I'm gonna do some. There you guys are. How is everyone? I'm doing okay. We're added in the console version. These choices were dealt in dialogue changes that can lead to bad ends. Do you want to see these choices? Let's skip the additional choices. Who's the criminal, you ask? Don't we search for them in this story? Who's the criminal, you ask? Do you even know what the criminal did? Who's the criminal? Who is the criminal who will kill me now? Profound. Midsummer, 1985. Move my phone. Alright. Yeah. I hope everyone's having a good evening today. Okay, I'll just put you guys on my second monitor so we can use better. Also, look, it's you guys. No, and here, Miss Bunny, is you. Isn't that cute? Yeah. This can be like cozy and stuff with me. I thought that would be a cute addition. Yes. Alright. I had misread the time and ended up arriving too early. The schedule flipped with a series of clocks. My flight to Sapporo was still a bit later on. I still had over an hour before boarding. Well, I might as well close my eyes for a bit on that bench over there then. I came here directly from work, so maybe the fatigue from that was making me sleepy. Finding a suitable bench, I put my luggage on the seat next to me and settled down. Oh yeah, it says voice acting now. Let me make sure it's not too loud. A little quiet. Yeah. I sighed like an old man. I had hoped to stay young forever, but had become splendidly middle-aged. Apparently, the rumor that even people in the latter half of their 20s experience a decline in their physical strength wasn't a lie. I have been mind-numbingly busy at work lately, so I rarely had time to myself. This might have been the first time I had been able to enjoy a journey alone like this since I was a student. The reason behind this trip was to meet an old friend. It was a bit strange to call him an old friend. In fact, it might be better to call him a bad one. After retiring a couple of years ago, he moved to Sapporo, his mother's hometown. His mother passed away soon after, and he was now peacefully enjoying his second lease on life. His name is Kurado Oishi. If you do not know, that is the police officer who always comes in these, Anyone to check? Hi. Yeah, we just read in visual novel. But, thanks for stopping by, Chris. Sleep well. But also, what was I saying? Yeah, Oishi is the police officer who's always in, these games, and he's kind of an asshole. His name was Kurado Oishi. Ringo-san, huh? I hope so too. Sleep well, Chris. He was a former detective from the Primary Investigation Unit in Okinomiya XX Prefecture. To be honest, the only direct contact I ever had didn't last more than 3 days. After that, we exchanged New Year's cards, but never met again. So this would be the first time in meeting him in 7 years. In other words, we met 7 years ago, in 1978. There was something I just had to talk to him about concerning that time. To explain that, it was not impossible to recall the incident that happened back then. That kidnapping, the details and resolutions which were resigned to darkness. Also, it was impossible not to recall a certain mysterious girl. My name is Mamoru Akasaka. It was last year that I had been strangely hot, though it was only June. And that's just global warming, don't worry about it. Early summer, 1978. That was too loud. Goodbye, teacher. Okay, bye. Watch out for cars. And don't jump in at a friend's house along the way. Hello. I'm going to butcher your name really bad, and I apologize in advance. Quatchi. Quatchi? I think I said that right. I hope so. Thanks for the first time chat, though. Yes, hi, hello. And thanks for becoming a pet grabber. You call me Chi for short? Okay, welcome, Chi. Make sure you get your books in order for tomorrow before you go to bed. Clatter, clatter, clatter. Lively sounds of children running across the hallway. You sound like Chi-Chi from Genshin, yeah? What's that line? Hi, I'm Chi-Chi. I am a zombie, and I like coconut milk, but I don't know what it tastes like. Is that good? I don't know. Is that a good impression? Yes, absolutely. Hey now, didn't I tell you before? I already have one of those. I don't need any more. The unique high-pitched voice of youth, the energetic shrill of the cicadas went completely unheard by their ears. Children returning home from school split off one by one from their groups of friends as they went through intersections in the residential area. Even though there were several of them in a group as they left the school, as they got closer to their homes, their numbers dwindled. That's why the fewer friends you were walking home with acted as an indicator that you were much closer to your destination. Later. See ya. Yeah, see you tomorrow. He finally parted ways with his last friend. A van was parked at a bend in the road. A van? Now, is this just a regular van, or is this a van? You know, like, you know, that kind of van. Just thinking, just asking. Alright. A van was parked at shots for phone. Good. Why? Are you at the stream? A van was parked at the bend in the road. The window was opened. The sound of the radio was leaking outside. It must have been the news or something. Alright, newscaster voice. For that reason, the three of them were arrested for traffic violations and obstruction of justice. Due to the protests against the Hinamizawa Dam project resulting in bloodshed when clashing with riot police last month, things have only become more violent. Police are therefore taking precautions against radical activists, causing yet another incident. Last week, there was also a direct confrontation with Minister Inukai on the steps of the Ministry of Construction. Oh, okay. So, I'm understanding what this arc is now, right? So, it seems to me that this is because you know, like throughout the stuff, they're always talking about like the dam construction project and all of that. So I think this chapter is like going back in time, and it's basically recapping everything that happened up until that first incident. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Like almost like a prologue type thing, I think. Yeah. The boy's ears perked up at the mention of the name Inukai. And I do believe, I think it was in the second game, I think it was Shion did mention that someone, like a government official's son was kidnapped. So, yeah. At the moment, a man's face peeked out suddenly from the window of the van. His behavior was a little different than that of a man looking around to see if there was any incoming traffic before he opened the door of his vehicle. His eyes meeting suddenly with the unfamiliar man, the boy panicked slightly. Nightingale, okay. Skylark, okay. They've secured the 2 blocks around us. We're good to go. The man in the passenger seat whispered quietly. Nodding in acknowledgement, the man opened the door and stood before the boy. You. Oh, and that's the governor's son. It's all coming full circle. Are you Toshiki Inukai-kun? While asking that, the man peered at the boy's name tag. Okay, if he's still wearing a name tag, then he must be a very, very small child. If he's still wearing like a name tag, that's like elementary school student stuff. So. The phone rang for a third time. If he reached out, he could easily pick up the receiver. However, he was concerned that if he picked it up before he had even finished ringing once, whoever was on the other end of the line would think him a fairly cheap person. That's why he normally never picked up the phone until the third ring. Even he thought it was a worthless habit. However, is thinking that there isn't much meaning in waiting for just 3 rings. Wouldn't waiting for 5 be alright? Was very much a reality. His mind filled with such trifling thoughts, he picked up the phone after the 3rd ring and had finished, its reverb dampened by his action. Yes? Yes, hello? Hello? He knew that sometimes, due to a malfunction at the switchboard, calls didn't connect well. At those times, it was best to hang up and let the person on the other end call again. Thinking that, the moment he began to hang up the phone, he sensed that he was definitely connected after all. He felt the presence of the person on the other end of the line, keeping silent. Hello? There's no way they didn't hear his question. What was the meaning of this? It wasn't quite like he didn't know that people could use silent calls to harass others. However, he'd never received a call like that until today. Maybe he was just lucky before, but he didn't believe that he would receive such a call on his phone. There are no direct calls to or from this line. Everything had to go through an operator. Therefore, there is absolutely no way a call could be connected unless it was verified that there was somebody else on the other end of the line. That's why he didn't understand how to deal with this silent call, and instead settled into confusion. I don't know who you are, but if you don't have anything to say, I'm going to hang up. Please call me again another time. Intending that to be a parting line, he made to slam down this receiver. It was at that moment the person on the other end spoke for the first time. You didn't say who you were, so I was anxious. If you're not Minister Ikukai, please hang up right away. He couldn't help but be surprised by the extremely strange voice on the other end of the line. They're using voice changer. They had those in the 70s. Thank you for subscribing. Oh, hi, Madden.
What I get for 15?
What you got for 15? You get a kiss. Thank you for supporting me for 15 months. I appreciate it. How have you been? Are you still one with the truck? Where was I? Was there a human alive who could speak with this hoarse and metallic voice? No, this was a voice he had heard somewhere before. It was that kind of voice that was on those lowbrow documentaries that they used when they wanted to hide the identity of a speaker, wasn't it? Yes, voice changer. The voice he was hearing over the line was exactly like that. Who are you? As I said, that's what I want to ask. Are you Minister Inukai? He, Inukai, hesitated to answer. Unable to discern, you gonna go to bed? Sweet dreams, madam. Sleep well. Yeah. Well, thanks for stopping by and sleep well. Mwah. Unable to discern the intent of this suspicious phone call, he had a vague feeling that was somewhat off. That something was off. He thought about hanging up the phone and asking the operator who initiated the call. However, he forced himself to restrain that urge, and for the time being, chose to say his name and listen. That's right. This is Inukai. I've said my name. Now you say yours. My name doesn't matter. First of all, let's begin by talking about the situation you're in right now. Right now, you're sitting in your chair talking on the phone, yes? Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, anyone could have deduced that. Then, why don't you try opening the lower drawer to your right? The lowest drawer to the right of the minister's chair. There's a lock on it. Not enough to function as a safe, but nevertheless it was a drawer that contained some valuable things. That's why Inukai thought that the person wanted some of the important information contained within that drawer. Sorry, but I don't have any intention of opening that. I have no reason to follow orders from somebody who won't even give his name. If you don't open that drawer, I'll hang up the phone. You will most likely end up forgetting that. Why don't you think about opening that drawer first? Inukai didn't like following orders from this suspicious person one bit. However, he was concerned about what the man said about regretting it, so he decided to open the drawer. He took the small key he stowed in his wallet, and unlocked the drawer. His hand stopped right before he opened it. What if there was a bomb inside and it would explode if the drawer was opened? That delusion took hold of him. He called that instinct and opened it. Did you do it? The thing is in there. Do you know what it is? This is... What is the meaning of this? Hey! I don't think there's any need for me to explain, is there? I'll give you some time, so please think about it a little. I'll contact you again later. Now then, pardon me. Hey! Wait. Hello? Hello? The call had already ended. That would not change no matter how much he yelled at it. Even still, Inukai, without realizing that, continued yelling into the receiver for a while. The drawer was still open. On top of the folders crammed into the drawer, it lay there. Toshiki Inukai. Written in plain lettering on a grade schooler's name tag, just lying there. I knew he was a grade schooler. enshrined there, completely out of place, as though it were cowering. This is a work of fiction. Any resemblance to actual persons or organizations is entirely coincidental. That was a nice cold open, though. Lower that. There you go. Oh, there's an opening. I guess we can listen to it. Welcome to Nyalpaca. This is probably gonna get, like... I really do hope, it doesn't get copyrighted on YouTube. This is a very nice song, though. Nice. You remember, Yuki? This picture. This is where I first proposed to you. In that brief moment before you nodded back, you probably wouldn't know just how much it seemed like an eternity to me. Yes, I would have never thought that amount of time could feel like an eternity. Compared to how long I had to wait for you to propose to me, it was. From the moment I met you until today, compared to the time I spent since I was born, it might have been a brief period, but there are definitely precious, beautiful days that deserve to be called an eternity. That time continues even now. From now on, I wonder if it'll be a boy, or maybe a girl. Either one is fine. Boy or girl, either way, it's living proof that we love each other. If it's a boy, we'll name it after you, Mamoru. If it's a girl, we'll put the Yuki from my names in hers. Thinking about names is so fun that in the end we still haven't decided yet. There's still time to puzzle over it. Not that long of a time, actually. You see, Yuki, there's something I have to apologize for today. It's about your job. Sorry. Looks like an annoying bit of work has come up. In the worst case, I might not be able to be there for the delivery. It's fine. You have a very important job. What you do protects the way we live. Compared to you, it's nothing. Please, go ahead. When you return, I'll be waiting here with our child. Thank you. Also, I'm sorry. Please don't apologize. If you feel guilty about it, then you can just atone. But If I atone that much, no matter how much money I have, it won't be enough. It's a joke. Now, go on. As I left the room, I bumped into an elderly man. It was Yuki's father. In other words, my father-in-law. Father? I didn't want to intrude, so I waited in the hall. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but I heard. Oh. Yuki is that kind of girl. No matter what happens, she doesn't want to hold you back. I've forced Yuki to give up on so many things. To put her through this during childbirth, such an important time in her life. I'm ashamed. If you really feel that way, when you're done with your work, make some time for Yuki. She'll be happier with that than you passing your work off on someone else. Thank you. I know full well you do important work. Be proud in what you do. Yuki is looking forward to your triumphant return. Yes. I jumped into the taxi that was waiting outside. Compared to the time when I first got here, the numbers on the flare meter had grown considerably. It seemed in the modest time Yuki and I spent together wasn't so modest, from an objective point of view. Sorry to keep you waiting. Go ahead. No worries. Well then, off we go. The taxi jerked as it changed gears to accelerate. Soon burying the hospital my wife was in behind a throng of buildings. If it was to end up as a really troublesome ordeal, I probably wouldn't be returning for quite some time. To call a rookie like me, and on top of that, one who's off duty, it seemed that the sector chief was calling for all hands on deck. So they're investigating the kidnapping. The veteran upper brass gathering on an emergency basis happened occasionally. This was the first time, though, that I experienced everybody gathering together like this. Whatever was happening, there was no doubt it was going to be something novel. Right when my wife was ready to give birth. If I wanted to spend the time to curse my misfortunes, I'd be here all day. Even the verdant ginkgo trees lining the street had always brightened my mood. Seemed to lack some of their usual luster. Eventually, the government office came to view. Briefly holding my breath, I let the feelings of tension course through my body once again. I had to remember the work I was doing was important, necessary, and difficult. I composed myself, and sharpened my way. Ready. The taxi stopped in front of the building. Metropolitan Police Department, Public Safety Division. Chief, everyone's here. Could you close the blinds? Blinds were usually closed when they needed to use their projector, or if the discussion was going to contain some particularly disturbing content. The blinds closed with a satisfying sound, darkening the interior of the room. Immediately, the inside of the room was completely drained of the pleasant morning atmosphere, leaving behind only the cold illumination of the fluorescent lighting. After the superior ensured that everyone was present, he nodded to the section chief once again. With everyone on the edge of their seats, the chief stood up solemnly and began to give his report. Approximately 48 hours ago, the Minister of Construction's grandson, who is also the son of one of his staff leaders, is believed to have been kidnapped. It is believed that the minister, in an effort to resolve matters amicably, chose not to report the situation to police and plans to concede to the demands imposed upon him. It seemed that approximately 48 hours. The Minister of Construction's grandson is... I just read that. The reason why it was faced that way was because of the person in question didn't admit it had happened. Based on the results of surveillance conducted on the minister's residence, multiple suspicious phone calls from what is believed to be outside the city took place. The abducted child is said to be under treatment for some illness. There's no trace of any hospital records or witnesses to such effect. Due to that and various other reasons, we believe without a doubt that a kidnapping has occurred. I had to sneeze, so I muted myself. Here, they omitted the details that brought this incident to light. If you think about it, that meant that before this incident happened, the minister's residence had been under surveillance already. I won't use the word spied upon. Of course, there wouldn't have been any court approval for this, and it would have been very hard to explain to ordinary citizens. However, it was quite an effective method to catch wind of incidents like this before they got worse. I'd like for you to understand that dealing with these cases before they become a problem is part of the Public Safety Division. Why is he just following their demands instead of reporting this to the police? The fact that a minister can't even trust the police, what is the world coming to? It seems the group of perpetrators demonstrated that they have quite a level of surveillance on the minister themselves when they conducted the kidnappings. Enough to give the minister pause before calling the police. We'll find out right away if we call the cops, more or less. So it's possible that there's a mole close to the minister. Several of the higher-ranking members who seem to have experience with this kind of things let out deep sighs. The goals of the perpetrators, their demands, as well as this entire incident are as of yet unclear. In any case, the possibility this may grow to threaten natural interest is extremely high. If their goal was to simply have their demands met for monetary gains, that would have been nice. However, if this was some politically motivated shakeup, things would get a lot more complicated. Since we're not receiving any corporate cooperation from the victim, that means that we're not privy to any of the materials of the threats of any of the details of the threats or demands. Due to the fact that we believe there may be a mole involved in this incident, this investigation is highly classified. Only the people in this room are to know of this. Furthermore, as this case is our utmost priority, we'll be placing hold on everybody's normal duties. Understood? After that, the supervisor continued, tactfully explaining our course of action. If this incident were to become public, it was possible that the minister's political life would be over. I'll spare you the explanation of how the rest of the dominoes would fall, but in the end, the support and the diet would decline, followed by a no-confidence vote and a snap election. And it might even expand communist influences. In other words, we wanted to handle this discreetly. Kawasaki and Saeki monitor communications from the minister and the child's residences 24/7. Find out what the minister is doing. Report anything that happens. To remaining members, investigate whether it's related to the case assigned to your units. Focus on your line of investigation on the commies, reds, and convicts. Don't discount the possibility of foreign involvement either. I have experienced one or two unamicable situations before. This, however, was the first time I've seen things get so hectic. Several sophisticated conversations were processing without the involvement of a rookie like me. I didn't intend to be timid, but I couldn't hide my confusion at this unfamiliar situation. And cover that. As for Akasaka-kun, I snapped back to alertness upon hearing my name call. Yes? You investigate the environmental groups that have petitioned the minister. Among them, there's that group protesting the Hinamizawa Dam project that made the papers. Make sure you investigate them thoroughly. I doubt this is the act of some citizen group, but we have to eliminate every possibility we can. Understood? So those opposed to the Hinamizawa Dam, it's probably best if we go to the location personally. Get some information from the local authorities. They're a fairly radical organization, so the Public Safety Division there should have them marked as well. Understood. I'll head over there. Your wife, she's almost ready to give birth, isn't she? I apologize for the timing of all this, but I'm counting on your cooperation. We can't take our time with this, so we just have to brute force it with our boots to the ground. Yeah, I know. My wife hates to interfere with my work with her own circumstances anyways. Sorry. Thanks. So then, as for Kawasaki-kun and Seiki-kun to help support your I didn't want to take a business trip when my wife was about to give birth. Even if I was a little busy, as long as I was in Tokyo, I could head to the hospital right away. On assignment, though, that would be difficult. Even so, I knew the work I was doing was important, and fully understood that I was in no position to be selfish. I'd have to make it up to my wife for having to be away at such an important time. the phone mode. Oopsies. My wife, Yuki, would probably forgive me with a smile. The only thing she would hate me doing would be me holding back. My male ego, though, at least wish she would have tried to stop me. Sorry, Yuki. I don't mind if you always complain to our child that their father didn't come to the hospital when they were born, as he was too busy with work. The next day, I took the bullet train to Nagoya, and from there transferred the train to XX Prefecture. Getting to my destination, my land, took several hours. If I was traveling by air in that amount of time, I could probably get as far as Hong Kong. XX Prefecture was by no means close. I never sat in first class except for work, but whenever I did, the seats seemed stiff. Closing my eyes, I mentally reviewed the documents I read yesterday. The group under investigation, the Onigafuchi Guardians. They were a group of residents opposed to the development proposed under the Hinamizawa Dam project. The local protests were quite heated and were getting more radicalized. Even limited to what was written in the newspapers, there was bloodshed that occurred during a class riot with police, interference with the dam construction, to many to count. The number of petitions, sit-ins, and direct appeals to relevant organizations were innumerable. As an extension of that, there was a direct appeal to the Minister of Construction the other day. This was the reason why we were investigating this group in the first place. The land that they lived on was going to be submerged. It was no wonder that they would go into a frenzy over it. Given that, though, would they really be capable of doing something like kidnapping the Minister of Construction's grandson in order to halt the project? Yes. From my take on it, I had serious doubts. This kidnapping plot was extremely sophisticated and complicated enough that it was believed there was some political backing. This wasn't something that could be pulled off by some group of local protesters. Well, just like the chief said, the plan was to eliminate all possibilities. While I'm in the Excess Prefecture's reference room, taking my time investigating, the higher-ups in Tokyo would probably solve the case. Without my involvement entirely. Even if that was true, I couldn't regret being away from Tokyo while my wife was ready to give birth. This was work. There's really nothing I could do. Ding-dong. The announcement that we would be arriving at our destination soon met me back to wakefulness. XX Prefecture Public Safety Division. The Onigafuchi Guardians. Yeah, they've been quite active around here. The Prefectural Public Safety Department already had documents and a cup of tea waiting for me. The short of it is that they're a group of residents opposed to the dam. Really, it's probably better to say that every resident living on the land that's going to be submerged is rising to action now. Like the old saying, fight to the last, they're a determined and well-prepared lot. It'd be nice if they drew the line of being just a moderate residential organization. The stack of papers they had prepared for me in the document room was by no means thin. At first, they were pretty much your average citizen's initiative, but ever since that incident with the riot police, they've really started to heat up. And now they've got a violent mentality, on top of growing increasingly radical. Violent organizations usually indicate ones that enforce their own ideology without regards to the democratic process. Breaking that down, many of these organizations held extreme left revolutionary ideologies. Considering that, I couldn't help but be surprised that a citizens group would end up going this far. Radical citizens movements happen occasionally. It seemed, however, that this group was nothing as trifling as that. It seemed that I would have to reconsider exactly what this Onigafuchi Guardian was. The Guardians demand, in other words, the withdrawal of the dam project. How far would they go to have that demand met? The kidnapping of the minister's grandson was classified. That meant, of course, I couldn't tell the XX Prefectural Department about it either. As you know, there were arrests after last week's confrontation with Minister Ikukai. There's enough reason to believe that they could use illegal means to resort to assert their demands. I skimmed over the last of the criminal records related to the Onigafuchi Guardians recorded in the documents. The contents were all violent, not giving me the barest hint of a feeling that these people were trying to uphold the law. Could you give me a basic rundown of the types of illegal activities the Onigafuchi Guardians are engaging in? The chief opened up a manila envelope, fished out several unorganized sheets, and spread them around the desk. It seems that the raids on the construction site are the most common. At first they were committing relatively petty crimes like cutting power cords, jamming locks, and breaking office windows by throwing rocks. Of course, what really happened first were things like demonstration sit-ins and distribution of pamphlets, lively but democratic forms of protest. However, when the demonstrators' office clashed, which started a riot leading to numerous injuries and arrests, it was from then on that the Onigafuchi Guardians, like their name implies, began to take a more demonic form of resistance. If the raids were frequent, didn't the local police up their protocols? Or of course they were on full alert, but they were up against locals, you know. There wasn't much the police could do if they were sneaking around under the cover of darkness. You might as well label the entire map of Hinamizawa village around the dam construction site enemy territory. No matter how alert the police were, the locals would just show them exactly how easy it was to sneak around. Actually, it was after the police upped security that the protesters started getting even more extreme, as though they were being provoked. See there? Can you tell how things started to heat up? Alright, take quick little make some more tea for my throat. The destruction of heavy construction equipment. Destruction? They couldn't have used explosives. No way. You see, they crammed the gas tanks full of sugar cubes. If you do that, it fouls the engines. Even in Japan, it seemed that there have been people doing that to vehicles of occupying forces right after the war. Compared to the misdemeanors like breaking windows, it was extremely violent and aggressive. After being toyed around with to that extent, the local police have completely lost faith. The arson was a bit much. After that, the local police drastically increased the number of personnel they had stationed around the clock. The raids on the construction site quieted down a bit after that. We used the words quieted down, but it was still smack down in the middle of the list of crimes. See, after that day, after they found out that attacking the site had become difficult, they started resorting to personal attack. The first people targeted were the construction workers. After that, there was silence. What was being described to me was a guerrilla warfare fought in the jungle. The threats and violence against the workers, harsh words and harsher rocks were thrown. There's quite a lot of accusation here, but there's not a whole lot of convictions. First of all, there's no witnesses. On top of that, even if we identify the perpetrators, we have alibis coming out of the woodwork. And since everybody in the town is in on it, like everyone's just gonna cover for each other. I feel like, oh no, he wasn't. He wasn't at the construction site. No, he was hanging out with me. I saw him. No, he was at the store. I saw him. And like, there's not really much you can do about that. What do you mean by that? Take for example, you're walking around Nyalpaca, when a certain man stabs you with a knife. You remember the person clearly, and even know his name and address. However, the knife doesn't have any fingerprints on it, and there's no physical evidence. Well, you'd think this would be a run-of-the-mill case of assault, wouldn't you? In Nyalpaca, it's a perfect crime. Everybody is. The entire village, they're all in on it. Exactly. To protect the man who was the perpetrator, they'll get all their stories straight and prepare an alibi. To that end, they'll probably even forge some evidence. There's nothing they can do to put them on trial. there not being any material evidence, though, people testify one after another as to cover his side of the story. Any prosecutor would hesitate to file charges. Something you can do? I'm not sure about murder, but if it's something like opening a gash on somebody's forehead with a thrown rock, or leaving a bruise after hitting someone, even if you could single out the suspect, there's enough reasonable doubt to not convict. Every case is without a doubt perpetrated by someone in Hinamizawa, but they can't identify who. Even if they could figure out who it was, they're unable to obtain enough circumstantial evidence through due process. The villagers are all extremely well informed about this, and so the malicious, vicious, and tenacious personal attacks continued. The victims can't have been okay with that, right? Can't they have filed for an appeal? You see, about that, everybody on the inquest committee didn't want to get involved with something so troublesome. They won't stick their noses into something related to Hinamizawa. The inquest committee is comprised of a random selection of local individuals. In the event the prosecutor fails to get a conviction, they have the power to order a retrial. It's a system designed to assert the will of the people on the actions of expert prosecutors in the legal world. In this case, however, being composed of local residents has backfired. They don't want to get involved? Why is that? How do I explain this? You could say they're afraid, since it's a little special there. Special? Is it an outcast community? No, it's a little different than that. Well, just think of it as them being afraid. It's a little hard to explain it just now. Right, there's an easier way. Wiping his forehead with a handkerchief, he opened a file and labeled it as a list of members of the Onigafuchi Guardians. The power of the Onigafuchi Guardians, you see, is the fact that they count many people among their members who are influential in neighboring areas. Could you take a look at this? I looked. What I saw startled me. The prefectural and municipal assembly municipal assembly members, staff members of the Chamber of Commerce, an executive business of an association, an executive of a town council association, and a PTA liaison. Oh yeah, and these all are people they're all Shion's family. Because Shion's family is like basically like royalty. They're all like very well connected. They kind of have their hands everywhere, so you can't really. It's not really much you can do. When they control it, and when like one group of people controls everything, there's not really much you can do, huh? An executive town council association and PTA liaison. There were more than a few people. It's a lot of say in the neighboring regions. And here, you could pretty much expect your actions to be observed by those against the dam project. If you said something in its support, Who knows how it'd work to your disadvantage? In any case, every town in this area is being held by the throat by somebody from Hinamizawa. It's Shield's family. The list of Inquisition committee members is undisclosed, isn't it? There has to be some measures in place to make sure they'd avoid retribution, no? Well, it is undisclosed, so their privacy is assured, but the person in charge of that is from the Okinomiya Municipal Office. In other words, a local. While you expect some professional confidentiality, you can't know how everybody's connected. The people from Hinamizawa have a lot of tight bonds in that regard. When you consider the obligations and duties people have to the region, the web of information thereby formed is nothing to scoff at. It's not uncommon for housewives in a neighborhood to know which kid from which house is in what grade and which school, what subjects you're good at, what vegetables they hate, among other things. You see, there's a Yakuza organization here with strong ties to Hinamizawa and the surrounding area. There it is. Shion's family. It seemed that they're providing full support in these recent incidents. They seem to be proving most effective. Gangsters? Siding together with the residents opposed to the construction of the dam? It's a little hard to see what their common interest is. It's not that difficult at all. You see, actually, one of the lieutenants in that gang is originally from Hinamizawa. There it is. He was adopted to a rather influential family in the village. Exactly what is this Hinamizawa? I thought it was some desolate, rustic village. However, for some reason, they exerted a strong influence on the surrounding areas and had a strong sense of unity. They would protect their village by any means necessary, even if that meant resorting to violence. Chief had said they were afraid because there were numerous influential people living there. But somehow, I got the feeling that they were afraid of the village itself. There is something clearly different from what I had read in the documents in Tokyo. This was no simple residential protest against the dam. For some reason, an uneasy feeling began to nestle itself in the back of my mind. I chose the most basic way to ask my question. In other words, I directly asked what I wanted to know. Chief, this is just a hypothetical situation, but... Huh? This Onikafuji Guardians, in order to halt the dam project, do you think they could, say, threaten somebody important to accomplish that? The chief replied immediately. It's possible. Truth be told, we've already gone to municipal and prefectural offices, as well as local offices of the Ministry of Construction, and done things that could be construed as intimidation. Several of the workers' families have also reported that they're being followed around by suspicious people. Oh, that would make sense. To halt the progress on the dam, they raided a construction site, destroying heavy machinery and lighting the construction office on fire. If they didn't have any qualms about doing that, threats and violence against people related to the dam would probably be no problem. But that was it. Even our everyday hoodlum could use threats and violence. However, this time it was the kidnapping of the minister's grandson, an abnormally high-level crime. pulling off the kidnapping difficult in the first place, but Sil was maneuvering to the minister to surrender to their demands immediately. There's no way this is the work of amateurs. Did these people have the power to enact this large of a crime? That was the heart of the matter. Was the Onigafuchi's guardian an organization capable of pulling this off? In order to ask that question once again, I chose the most basic method. Hypothetically, do you think they could kidnap a relative of someone of political importance? There's no way they could pull off something that big. That was the answer I most hoped for. If that was an answer, then my work was as good as halfway done. I might be able to get back in time for my wife to give birth. That was how it was supposed to be. The chief, without a hint of hesitation, replied, "It just might." Oh fuck. There's no telling how far they'd go. Sorry, Yuki. It seemed like my work wouldn't end so simply after all. Ah, Akasaka-kun. Good work. How's the information gathering at your assigned region? It's coming along. It seems I'll be able to meet with their local public safety department, so I'm planning on heading out that way. Not that way. How's the investigation in Tokyo going? The officers are processing along, but the number of groups you have to investigate are countless. Time really isn't a luxury here. There are no new developments at this time. No matter how suspicious the Onigafuchi Guardians was, if they solved the case in Tokyo, my job was done. It looked like my wishful thinking wouldn't come to pass. Hanging up the phone, I let my gaze drift outside the window to the valley of unfamiliar building. A car you can borrow just returned. I'll take you to it, so follow me. Ah, thank you. He showed me the elevator to the underground parking lot, where a battered sedan was waiting for me. That steering wheel kept drifting to the left was a little concerning, but it would be enough to get me around for a while. My destination was Shishibone City, XX Prefecture. An area under the control of the Onigafuchi Guardians. The Okinomiya police station was right in front of the lines. But the person up there, it could just be a scene driver. Yep. Okinomiya Prefecture, Okinomiya police station. Shishibone City was as far as prefectural cities went, rather behind the times. Okinomiya, recessed in the mountains, was even more remote. With a little change in the seasons, all that was left the tepid passage of time. It made for a rather drab town. There are no tourist attractions or local delicacies. Without even a strong regional industry, it was simply dull. Just looking at the monotonous and peaceful landscape, it was hard to catch a glimpse of the radical resistance of the Onigafuchi Guardians. The atmosphere of boredom didn't hint of the Okinomiya police station being the front lines of the dam complex, more of the numerous incidents I had heard about at the prefectural headquarters. Good morning. Are you here to pay a fine? No, I have an appointment with Honda-san from the Public Safety Division. Please tell me it's Akasaka. My apologies. Please wait for a minute. A clerk, who thought I was here for a parking violation at first glance, after fumbling with the unfamiliar extension number, told the person on the line we had a visitor. Welcome, welcome. Akasaka-san, was it? It must have been tiring traveling out all this way. Sorry you have to do this here. I tried to reserve a reception room, you see. But the counselor suddenly woke up and chased me out. I would hesitate to call where we were a conference room. It was very small and cluttered. The cramped space was packed with lockers. I had the impression that this was more of a change room that doubled as one for smoking. Listening to his crude chortles, I didn't get much of a feeling that Honda, who was the head of the local public safety division, was much of an intellectual. But I knew that in exchange, he had both experience and absolute confidence in his instincts. I apologize for interrupting you at such a busy time. I'm Akasaka from the Metropolitan Police Department. Pleased to make your acquaintance. Honda from the Public Safety Division. Nice to meet ya. I was threatened by the Senkai from the prefectural gangbusters to be generous with my cooperation. Gangbusters? You mean the Prefectural Crime Prevention Division? You see, we're treating the Onikafuchi Guardians as an extension of the local Yakuza. You don't have to be a newbie if you think they're just a... You'd have to be a newbie if you think they're just a residential protest group. They said that the prefectural office too, that the Onikafuchi Guardians was linked to the local mob. If I recall correctly, the adopted son of somebody influential was a lieutenant in that gang. It's the other way around. The complete opposite. The Yakuza put up the protest group as a front just to justify their actions. Just think of it like that. Completely the other way around. Honda was just about rolling with laughter. This was slightly different than the info given to me at the prefectural office, but somebody embedded locally would be more knowledgeable. While we were talking, occasionally some people who seemed to be detectives would come in and change. One of those individuals, noticing Honda's guffaws, came up to us. Soishi. I'm gonna turn off the mouth opening. I like it. And is that one? Prefer the elements. I was wondering what you guys were talking about. Oh, Kura-chan. Perfect timing. Why didn't you join us? This year's the Inspector Akasaka, who came all the way from the Tokyo Police Department. An inspector? I'm still a rookie. My name is Akasaka. Pleased to meet you. Must be nice to be so fresh-faced. Did they hire you this year? I couldn't help but think I was being ridiculed, so I only responded with a forced smile. I could tell that this new person was like Honda, the type who had a confidence in their instincts and experience. I really don't like those types of people. Let me introduce you, Akasaka-san. This is Oishi-kun from our investigative department. Regarding the S-file you were talking about, he's familiar with it. S-file? Sonozaki. There it is. Mr. Sonozaki. If something is an S-file, that means it has something to do with the Sonozaki family. It's something of a code name. Sonozaki? Come to think of it, I remembered when I was poring over the documents at the headquarters, there were quite a few people with the last name Sonozaki popping up. If I remember right, there's a Sonozaki who's one of the executive of the Onikafuji Guardians. I'm pretty sure they're the treasurer. The two of them were surprised when I rattled off what post that Sonozaki held. After a moment, both of them erupted into laughter. Akasaka-san, was it? You're quite the studious one. Could it be you've memorized all the central figures in the Alliance? I wouldn't say memorized, exactly, but I've at least read the list of Onikafuji Guardians executives. Then, who are the president and vice president? The president is the mayor of Hinamizawa, Kichiro Kimiyoshi. The vice president is the local priest of the local shrine. Furude. The treasurer is Oroyu Sonozaki. The auditor is Makino. The liaison is Yoshiroshi Kimiyoshi. The PR head is Sato Sonozaki. Akasaka-san, you're pretty good. The pay sucks, but do you want to work here? You're just the type we're looking for. By the way, Sadao Sonozaki is the head of the youth department. So close. The head of public relations is actually Tadataka Sonozaki. Feeling like I wasn't being complimented at all, I started settling into an uncomfortable mood. However, I was becoming more and more aware I was the weakest link in this investigation, so I just had to bear with it. I didn't mean for that feeling to show up in my face, but the crafty detectives didn't let it slip by. I didn't mean to make fun of you. To make up for it, why don't I show you around the village? For somebody with no feel for the area like me, that would be a great help. I couldn't have asked for more. In the end, the Onikafuji Guardians is nothing more than an alias Hinamizawa is using to deal with the outside world. I think getting to know the village would speed up your work. About it. Residential movement, in other words, not the influence over the whole region. So the leader of the movement is the leader of the influence. Just like that, the thought process in the region would become the overall personality of the movement. Just like Koichi had said, in order to learn what they were really like, this regional force behind the dam project, getting to know the village was the quickest way. If you would. Nodding back without skipping a beat, Oishi laughed in satisfaction and stood up. Oh, wait. If I took the information I learned at the prefectural office from Honda to heart, if my position was exposed, my personal safety was at risk. The opponent was an extremist group that had no qualms about using threats or violence against somebody. If my personal info was leaked, it wouldn't be hard to imagine I would be in danger. Whether on the job or not. Thinking that, I felt a little nervous. These guys are quick to remember faces. Since you're seen with me, they'll probably do a lot to hinder your work. This might be a little cliché, but put these on. Oishi handed me an incredibly suspicious disguise comprised of a baseball cap, sunglasses, and a mitt. I didn't want to get all hot and stuffy, but Oishi's warning was probably right on the money. Considering that, I put them on with an appreciation. I looked so suspicious that Oishi had to smile wryly. How much did I tell you again? Let's see. To the part where you're talking about how these three ancient families control the village. The Onikafuji Guardians was the same as the village of Hinamizawa itself. Meaning, there was a direct correlation between being an executive in the alliance and being a leader in the village, as Honda had told me a short time ago. If the village was ruled out by three ancient families, then that would mean the Onikafuji's guardian was ruled out by these three families. What did the documents at the prefectural office say? About the leader of the guardians and whatnot. The documents I were using were classified. If I responded to Oishi's questions, it'd be a breach of security. However, most likely, this man I judged was more well-versed in the situation than any of the documents of the prefectural police department, so I decided to answer him. But the president of the alliance is the current mayor of the village, Kiichiro Kimiyoshi. Oishi, upon hearing that, let out a small chuckle. For him to ask like that, and to laugh at the answer, as it was recorded in the documents, meant that wasn't the case in reality. So that means there's somebody else other than Kimiyoshi behind the scenes. Contrary to what the prefectural office thinks, or rather what is commonly known. Old man Kimiyoshi is nothing more than a figurehead. In the first place, most of the mayor in that village is nothing. The post of the mayors in that village is nothing more than ceremonial. In other words, there's someone else in charge of both the alliance and the village. Would that be the three families we just talked about? Well, I'll explain that part a sudden, with a thunk, the car suddenly lurched. The paved road had given way to a gravel one. At the same time, the scenery outside the window changed. The Hinamizawa Dam project must be withdrawn. Overthrow the shameless puppet of a governor. The dam will submerge the natural beauty of Hinamizawa. Protect the village from the unethical dam. Hear the wrath of Orishio-sama's curse. Demolish the dam. Those involved must go away. The construction office must respond. The construction office manager must negotiate with us. Signs and banners crowded the roadside. Even reading the bush-scrawled words was daunting. It was as though where the road had just changed was a border with a different country. At that moment, I was startled by the car braking. Looking ahead, a barricade had been erected. About 5 or 6 protesters, wearing masks and helmets to hide their faces, were blocking the road, yelling at us angrily to stop. Oh, what is this? A checkpoint? These guys never learn. Oishi snorted as he rolled down the window and leaned out. Hey, you guys. You can't be blocking the road like this here. As Oishi glared at them with a malicious laugh, they visibly faltered. Clear the way. We can't get by like this. Who would have thought it was Oishi's car? That panic thought seemed to make them lose their presence of mind. If we had known it was your car, Detective Oishi, we wouldn't have been so rude. Detective, what happened to your usual? Is it in for maintenance? Something like that. Just can't get used to this car they loaned me. Hello, radio. Are you here to go? Are you here to fall asleep? Hey. You. No, you as in you. It's you. It's you. It's every pack rabbit. Yeah. Every pack rabbit is coming here. Yeah, so is you. Yeah. Judging from their brief conversation, I could guess they are familiar with the license plate of the car Oishi normally uses. In other words, if they knew the car belonged to the police, they would have hidden the barricade. Thank you for that. What they were doing was obviously obstruction of traffic. A blatant crime. There's that suspicious guy. You, could you show us your face? The man glared at me menacingly. Wearing a mask and sunglasses made me look particularly dubious. Too soft? Volume a little bit. What? Okay. Would not showing my face get me into some unnecessary trouble? I turned to Oishi to see what I should do. Give him a break. He's still a shy rookie. We just wanted to make sure he wasn't anybody suspicious. Hinamizawa has been in a bit of a stir as of late. Have you looked yourself in the mirror? That mask you're wearing is way more suspicious. The men and Oishi continue to talk like that, raining smiles at one another. Oh, it's Fish. Hi. How you doing? Still, wait. However, from the beginning to the end, I couldn't get over this feeling I was sitting on a powder keg. How have you been? Has the number of trucks illegally dumping still not decreased? It's a real hassle dealing with it all the time. Miss Snail? Kinda? I've been using it for a while. It's still another pre-made model, but it's been the model I've been using for a bit. Last few months. If the police could understand and cooperate, it would really help. During that conversation, the barricade was moved, leaving a gap wide enough for a single car to get through. Hoishi honked the horn once and began to roll the car forward. I could see the men's antagonistic glares at the back of the car in the rearview mirror. Oh boy. What was that just now? Walking a public road like that? And of course it's a crime. Still, if you get worked up over that, it'll never end. Those guys, see, claim there's an infestation of trucks illegally dumping on the village. Their story goes that in order to stop that, they're halting suspicious vehicles for suspicion. Illegal dumping? Like corrupt contractors just tossing industrial waste away? Their line of argument is that if the police aren't going to do anything about it, they'll take matters into their own hands. Well, the industrial waste is just something they're doing themselves anyways. By themselves? They have a pretty good strategy. You see, in order to hinder construction, they spread industrial waste over by the dam site. Then, blaming it on corrupt contractors, they start instituting these inspections. Oh, it's kind of very smart. There they stop every construction vehicle coming through and interfere with them as much as possible. Hello, Arlie. Welcome to the stream. So then, is this one of the methods the Onigafuchi... So then this is one of the methods the Onigafuchi warriors is using. Yee. With that inspection just now, this car's license plate has probably been recorded. It shouldn't get stopped from here on out. Those guys know very well not to get me angry. He's not playing games. See, rumors that they figure a car is related to the construction in some way. Not only would there be checkpoints stopping at every turn, but they'd be throwing rocks and planting road spikes as well. It's best you be careful so you're not identified. If they find out you're from public safety, who knows what you'll suffer through. Oh boy. How are you, Arlie? How was your day? Oishi was acting like we were talking about something fun, but for me it was no laughing matter. It almost feels like we've wandered into a civil war in the Middle East. That's a good way of putting it. It's pretty much what you said. Oishi turned to me with a grin and menacing laugh. You see, this here is a war zone. The car slowed down a bit as it went down a narrow road through some farmland. You see that house in that forest over there? That antiquated one? Looking at where Oishi was pointing, there certainly was an old, traditionally designed house. That belongs to the mayor, Old Man Kimiyoshi. That's good. You could say it belongs to the main Kimiyoshi house as well. I'm doing pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. You could say that it belongs to the Kimiyoshi main house as well.
Hi, hello.
Oh. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for becoming a pack rabbit. How are my old bones treating me? Oh no, I turn 25 next week. You know, my bones they're creaking. I have to have my hello. Beaumont. thanks for becoming a pack rabbit. My bones are creaking. I have to have my noise suppression up really high, so you can't hear my aging creaking bones. Also, hi, welcome, Beaumont. It's nice to meet you. Bones are useless too, don't worry. Your feet hurt? You have a long day, Radio? You said you went to a concert. You must be tired. It's just snoozing and standing too long. Yeah, that'll do it. Oops, I mean to move it. Thought it was like locked. Where was I? You could say it belongs to the main Kimiyoshi house as well. It starts at 8, but it actually starts at 9. It'd be like, why is like, did I not lock the layer? There you go. Keeps moving around, but I don't want it to. That belongs to the mayor, Old Man Kimiyoshi. You could say it belongs to the main Kimiyoshi house as well. There's a lot of branches. But, they'd be one of the 3 families. The 3 families. The ancient families that control Hinamizawa. The mustache. Oh, hang on. I completely forgot to turn on Mix It Up. Wrong button. Yes. Professional streamer 100. Yeah, it was always 5K. Yeah. If it was any lower, you guys would use it way too much. That's right. And one of the others is the Furude family. Their house isn't even a single branch, as all that's left is the head priest's family. Right over there, there's the shrine. He's the priest there. By the way, the Guardian's office is on the grounds of that shrine. The office of the Onigafuchi Guardians. If those guys were the enemy, that would make the shrine their stronghold. Can we get over there? Oh, do you need more points? Well, the only way for you to get points is if I stream. I need to stream more, that's what I need to do. You stream more consistently. I think I'll start by streaming like 3 days a week. I think Teddy stole them from you. Yeah. I'll refund them later. I'll start by streaming like 3 days a week, and then just gradually like go up to the amount of streams I want to do. I think that's what I'll do. Yee. The shrine's the Furude family's private property, you see. Being police, we can't set foot there without a warrant. See, they've got a member of the Diet with ties to the village backing them. Basically, being in the police has its strengths and weaknesses. Well, even when we talk about the three families, that's something from a long time ago. Way back when, those three families used to hold councils to decide things about the village. The council will decide your fate. Meaning it's different now? You've got a pretty good nose. That's what I expect from an academic. The car brakes to a halt with a squeal. Ahead of where we were stopped, there were several signs. Private property beyond, no trespassing. Beware of poisonous snakes. Danger, turn back. Intruders will be charged an entry fee of 1 million yen. Signs were erected there with things like that written on them. The road was separated from the forest by a chain link fence wrapped in barbed wire. Since this is private property, this is as far as we go. There are several surveillance cameras set up further in. Saying that we just got lost won't work with these guys. They're beyond here, right? The people currently controlling Hinamizawa and the Onigafuchi Guardians were neither the Kimiyoshi family nor the Furude family, but the last of the three. The motherfucking Sonozakis. Let's go. Yeah. Beyond here is one of the three families, the Sonozaki family. They're the ones controlling Hinamizawa from the shadows. Among the list of executives recorded in the documents, the numbers of peoples with last names from the three families was quite high. Of course, Sonozaki was no exception. However, at the top was the Kimiyoshi family. If the Kimiyoshi family seemed to be in charge, The rulers behind the scenes were the Sonozaki family. This double-layered structure implicitly told me that the village had both a light and a dark side. The current head of the Sonozaki family is an old lady named Oryu, which is Shion's grandmother. She has enough clout. Nice. She verified on Instagram. She has enough clout that you could call her Empress Sonozaki. Be careful, she's no small fry. She's enough of a VIP that even the mayor of the city has to bow before her. Well, in Hinamizawa and the surrounding area, their relatives amount to a block of several thousand votes. No politician could show disrespect for that. In other words, that would make her the actual leader of the Onigafuchi Guardians, right? Did I read Summer Pockets? No. Is that a visual novel? Need to finish it before the anime starts? Oh, so it is a visual novel. I will look into that. Also, a visual novel that will start. Yeah, I'll look into it. But a visual novel will start. Oh, I know about them. They've made a lot of good ones. But we'll start reading Clannad soon. After we finish Atri, we'll start reading Clannad. And also Steins Gate. We need to finish Steins Gate, we really do. But right, Atri, Clannad. We'll finish up the Higurashi series, and then we'll start on the Steins Gate series. Maybe we'll play Umineko. We'll see. まあいいしだよ。With those words, Oishi pulled out a well-worn cigarette box. The suspected kidnapping of the minister's grandchild and subsequent threats. These were a part of the hidden plot by the Onigafushi Guardians in order to have the Hinamizawa Dam project cancelled. You came all the way from Tokyo to investigate this, didn't you? Huh? Yeah, that's right. Something the matter? Then. Is it related to that direct appeal incident with Minister Inukai? If that's the case, then public safety has them marked on a watch list? Something like that? Yeah, he's sharp. Having you guess that so quickly makes this easy. While exhaling out cigarette smoke, Oishi smiled broadly, like I had just pulled a good one on it. Or so I thought. His smile disappeared suddenly. That's a lie, isn't it? Yeah. Oishi's he's too smart. As, seen in the other installments. Huh? I mean, the direct appeal putting them on a watch list. That's a lie, isn't it? No. Oishi knew there was no way that Tokyo HQ would dispatch an investigator over something as minor as a direct appeal. If they were to dispatch someone, it had to be for a more dire reason. He had figured out that much. I thought of myself as the type of person who doesn't let things show on their face. In front of his watchful gaze, however, I felt that what I was thinking was completely laid bare. Oishi silently lit another cigarette, as if waiting for me to interject during this awkward pause. I see. So this is a friend's detective way of getting someone to spill information. But as long as I realized this, there'd be nothing more. If I didn't open my mouth, I didn't have to lose anything. All I had to do was stare out the window and enjoy the scenery until Oishi gave up. It's a waiting game. You really are bad at hiding things, you know. Being so young and earnest isn't so bad. Oishi smirked as he twisted out his third cigarette, while I tried not to let him notice that I had yielded completely. At first I thought I had won, but at the very least Oishi had ascertained that I was hiding something. Meaning that I might have ended up marching to his tune. Sorry about that, I had to close my door. Oishi started up the engine again and began to move the car. No, it's just my mom. She was just on the phone. I think she's talking to her friend. If you had just been honest with me, I might have been able to help you. How would you help? If the cat was out of the bag, I might as well use it to catch some mice. Well, this depends on what you're talking about, but I might be able to set you up with someone who's knowledgeable about the goings-on in Hinamizawa. An informant? I see. Is that what you call it? Oh, why are you interested in my case? Oishi-san. Well, I'm the same as you. Isn't our business to know things? Being able to meet with Oishi's informant was an extremely compelling opportunity. We were looking to recruit somebody similar with the area to collaborate for intelligence. In the end, there's no better method for finding people than asking. We were always taught, however, that the rank and profile police were no better than monkeys. The rank and file police. Unlike us, they were careless with confidential cases. We looked down on them, like they'd run their mouth off in a drunken stupor. Oishi was an outlaw, even amongst them, and here I was lost on whether or not I should tell him about the kidnapping of the minister's grandson. This informant, exactly how knowledgeable are they about the Onigafuchi Guardians? If you're from public safety, you'd know, wouldn't you? Something like that is something I can't is something I can't just tell you. Protect your sources. That was the first principle of dealing with confidential information. In that regard, it seemed that Oishi wasn't one of those monkeys. Should I trust him? Ask for his help or not? It's just that you work for the feds and I work for the prefecture. I don't think our jobs are that different. And I think I can be of help. Ugh, Oishi is such a fucking slimy bastard. You can really just talk his way into, like, you just talk and get what he wants, huh? He's just one of those types of people. But however, I had trouble believing that this crafty old man would simply help me just like he claimed. Nuh-uh, he's gonna have something. He's gonna have something to say about it. He's gonna. Now, how should I go about this? I find it hard to believe that someone of your standing would help me without strings attached. Well, it's not like I'm completely without an ulterior motive. As I recall, you guys have space in your budget allocated to pay informants, right? Something you don't need to submit a receipt for? Dirty cop. Just a little bit of that would be the cost of meeting with the informant. In other words, give the compensation earmarked for the informant to you first. Well, that helps that the details of this are so clear-cut. He certainly was something else for being able to brazenly state his ulterior motive like this. Rather than him doing this out of the kindness of his heart, everything was a lot clearer if he was being compensated for his deal. I felt that he was the type of man who was good at these backroom dealings. Don't misunderstand me, please. It's not me who needs the money. It's the informant, okay? Is he the informant? Well, in regards to the payment, I'll be handling the money. When do you want it? Right now would be good. If you don't have it on you, tomorrow works as well. I pulled out a wallet that was different from my personal one. The price is pretty much fixed depending on what kind of information I was paying for. In this case, the payment was up front. Also considering the fact I didn't know what kind of info I get, I shouldn't pay too much. When I suggested that, Luigi suddenly stretched out his hand and tightly grasped the contents of the wallet. In times like this, it's best you not to be so stingy. What a fucking asshole. It's alright. You won't go to waste. I understand. I won't be stingy. And? What kind of information are you asking for? Depending on what you want, how we approach this will probably change. You swear you won't spread this information to anyone else, Luigi-san? I can't swear as much. I'm the same as you. I can't withhold information obtained during the course of my duty. I got it, I swear. Nothing here needs to be said anywhere else. On top of that, thanks to you, I can pay back what I owe for my mahjong debts. In any case, I won't break a promise that involves money. I was still unsure if I could trust him until the very last moment, but in the end I broke down. Oishi wasn't the type of guy I could trust 100%, but there's no mistaking he had access to underground information networks. In order to accomplish my mission swiftly, I needed his cooperation. I set my resolve. I'm investigating whether or not the Onigafushi Guardians is related to a certain incident. Certain incident? There's a possibility that the Minister of Construction, Inukai, is being coerced by someone. Saying there's a possibility is kind of a roundabout way of putting it. It appears there's a mole close to the minister, and due to that mole, the minister had been monitored quite thoroughly and was seemingly forced to concede to their threats right away. None of this was reported to us or the police. See. So that's why you're saying there's a possibility he's being coerced. In that case, isn't that a little strange? If the minister didn't report this to anybody, how do you guys know about this incident? If we didn't spy on the minister's private life, we would have never found out. I don't think we have to provide an explanation to the informant, so I'm omitting it. Luisi had apparently caught on, and quickly chuckled when I refused to explain. I see. There's a spy close to the minister, so the public safety made it a highly classified investigation. That certainly isn't a very amicable story, is it? If this matter became public, not only would this affect the minister's political career, but the possibility of there being a shift in the political landscape is extremely high. If the perpetrator's aim is indeed that, then this could develop into a very grave situation. Well, with the government having development projects all over the country, they've butted heads with quite a few people. It wouldn't take much wrongdoing for the left-wing parties to suddenly garner more support. We're currently investigating what demands are being forced on the minister. But at least we have a good idea of how he's being threatened. How? The minister's grandson was kidnapped. They're denying it, but judging from when he was last seen, it's believed it's already been over 72 hours since the kidnapping. So 3 days. If they're just after ransom money, this would have been settled by now. It may be this isn't for monetary gain. Possibility is that they're enforcing the minister to do something politically is extremely high. That's something we just can't consent to. So then, the Onigafushi Guardians was listed as one of the possible perpetrators. That is correct. Kidnap the minister's grandson and demand the cancellation of the dam project. What do you think, Oishi-san? From your point of view, do you think that's possible? Oishi seemed to ponder the idea for a while. The section chief at the regional office had responded immediately with, "It's possible." Okay. However, Uishi was well informed about this matter, was hemming and hawing. Okay. I'm gonna take a quick ad break because I'm gonna get some more water. I will be right back. turned and I didn't forget to unmute. You did. Yes. However, Oishi, who was well informed about the matter, you going to bed? Eat? Of course. Always happy to help. No worries. Finally, just a little bit. He said something that was just a little strange. Oh, you're drawing? Was she drawing? This was before the Meiji era, you see. This area wasn't named Hinamizawa Village back then. It was called Onigafuchi. This is just what I heard from my mother. This topic was so completely and suddenly unrelated to the subject of kidnapping of the minister's grandson that I was slightly taken aback. Onigafuchi? Oh, so that's why they're called the Onigafuchi Guardians. You see, the village of Onigafuchi was said to be inhabited by demons that devoured humans. Even now, it's believed that the blood of those demons partially courses through the veins of the villagers. Demons that devour humans? Oishi-san, what are you saying? It's information. I got a lot from you just now. A little too much. In exchange, I'm giving you a little freebie. Oishi finally smiled, but it didn't seem like he was fooling around. Please continue. You see, these human-devouring demons, normally they were revered as Taoist transcendents and lived tucked away from the rest of the world. But they ate people after all, so apparently they go to villages in the footholds regularly and abduct their prey. I used to call that being demoned away, or onikakushi. Demoned away. It was the first time I heard such a peculiar phrase. However, I felt something slightly obvious in this horrifying tale of demons abducting people in order to eat them. Look, you know how there's the common phrase, spirited away? When people suddenly go missing one day, they call it that. When the same thing happens around here, they call it being demoned away. How does that old tale relate to the matter at hand? Oh no. There's no direct relationship, I'm just making small talk here. It's just... The car shook. At some point, the gravel had changed to a paved one. It's just what? And then around here, the phrase demoned away is somewhat of a code for disappearances and kidnappings. I just thought I'd mention that. I don't know if this is something to do with the kidnapping of the minister's grandson. Well, there's no deep meaning behind it. It's just... There's that little bit of history. Onikakushi. Human-eating demons coming down to the footholds and abducting their prey. Then, in order to cancel the dam project that threatened to submerge the village they lived in, did they demon away the minister's grandson? Then, have they already made an example out of the minister's grandson and eaten him alive? That's a bit of an interesting old tale, isn't it? If you set foot into the demon's village without reason, you'll probably be captured and eaten alive. So don't go near Onigafuji. Kids these days might not believe in such superstitions, but amongst the older folk in Okinomiya born in the Meiji era, many would never question these warnings. Namizawa village was feared by the people in the area. I recalled that piece of information I heard from the Prefectural Public Safety Division. In any case, we're in the boonies here. It's kind of expected that there be some superstitions around. Somebody from Tokyo like you, Akasaka-san, probably wouldn't even begin to imagine it, could you? The man-eating demons is the price for violating the sanctity of their village. Kidnapped the minister's grandson and swallowed him whole. That ludicrous idea flew through my head. It was so absurd. I was half disgusted with myself. Oishi was just teasing me. Stupid. Stupid. This was all really so stupid. And to think of it, by then, I may have already been seized with the curse of that dubious village. For me to realize that would take a little more time. Well, that seems like a chapter ender, I would say. Alright, we will read the tips. Land of the Demons, travel to Namizawa. Okay, we will read the tips, and then we will end the stream. Phone call with Yuki. Oh, really? It's tough when it's such a sudden assignment. Please be careful. Oh, where are you headed? You're already there? Whenever I headed out on an assignment, she'd always ask where. Not just Yuki, but anybody would have asked the same question. If it was a cold place, she would urge me to pack a thick jacket. If it was far, she'd warn me to be careful on the drive over. It was just a normal everyday concern, and that led to asking such an obvious thing. I felt sad that I couldn't answer such a run-of-the-mill question. Sorry. It's something you can't talk about, isn't it? Please, be careful. Sorry, Yuki. At some point, you started apologizing right away. Even though when you first started your job, you were all gung-ho about it. Yuki laughed as though she had realized something. At times like this, Yuki had the magical power to see right through me. It's already been quite a while since I was admitted to the hospital. Are you finally getting lonely? Don't cheese me. I'm too old to get lonely. Oh, really? You actually like to be toted on, don't you? Don't you start getting a little faint of heart when I'm not around. Ugh, jeez. You can see the little devil horns sprouting from your head right now. You've always been like this. You can't hide it. You can't hide it. You can't hide it. If I don't play with you, you get all lonely. I can hear your tail wagging over the phone. This side of Yuki wasn't something you could guess existed from seeing her usual modest behavior, and it was something she didn't show to anybody else but me. Normally I'd poke her to hide my harassment and bring it into the conversation, but I couldn't do that over the phone. And of course, Yuki was clever. She was teasing me because of that. I wonder when I figured out giving you grief was this much fun. Ugh, give me a break. In any case, it's good to hear you so lively. I know, right? Did I cheer you up? I had called Yuki to keep her from feeling lonely when she was by herself in the hospital room. Of course, that was nothing more than a pretense that I, being Sai, had come up with. It seemed that Yuki had long since seen through that act. Yeah. Please phone again. When I'm not feeling up to it, I'll get my father to talk with you. Although, if you're talking with my father, I get the feeling that you'd be standing at attention on the other side of the line. For a while longer, Yuki kept teasing me, without letting me end the call. That's cute. Next one. A record of opening remarks. Chairman XX. Members of the XX party, congratulations are due as we are celebrating 25 years since our founding. These past 25 years have seen such growth in XX Prefecture. A quiet scenery of nothing but fields now has been the opening of a new stop for the bullet train. With the development of a highway, we've seen the rebirth of a modern city bustling with youthful energy. We've reaped the benefits of new business and industry, and with the special reverence of the residents of XX Prefecture have for time-honored transitions, history and culture, business and industry, with these ideals in harmony, they have accomplished in growing their city into one of Japan's foremost metropolises. Of course, the development of blank prefecture couldn't have happened without the growth of the blank party. We are resolved to see every one of our campaign promises come to fruition, reaching our targets definitively, and expediently like arrows from a bow. With these arrows as the fundamental basis of the blank party, our members have sought to pierce the obstructions presenting the happiness of the residents of blank prefecture. But I do believe that everybody here is unlike an ordinary arrow. While being as unfaltering and straightforward, we have not neglected in seeking solutions that conform to the current day and age, while also keeping an eye on the future. An arrow once loosed can only fly to its destination. Everyone here, however, is no simple arrow. Even once loosed from the bow, without neglecting our studies, while employing new methods, and while implementing more effective and flexible ideas, thus being able to change trajectories mid-flight, we are magical arrows. The modern age marches ever forward. Sometimes it marches faster than the time taken from planning to execution. The following part was not in the script. It is though to have been ad-libbed by the minister. For example, there have recently been numerous problems with the Hinamizawa power plant project. There it is. He ran his mouth when he shouldn't have. Hinamizawa really said, "Keep my wife's name out your damn mouth." Rather than forcing through the project solely because it was decided upon by the government, it is necessary to reflect and adjust on the ever-changing needs of the residents, the region, and the next generation. The protests by the local residents that surround Hinamizawa Dam, these are also the will of the people of blank prefecture. If you feel that there is no need to listen because the project has already been finalized, then you do nothing more than set a poor light on Japan's post-war democracy. The following is as per the script. For the lasting happiness of the citizens of Japan and the residents of blank prefecture, please consider these policies thoroughly. I believe, however, we have all gained something from the flexibility and foresight of the blank party. I have taken up much of your time. However, allow me to say the following to celebrate the 25th anniversary of our founding. Chairman Blank, members of the blank parties in attendance, thank you very much for today. From the opening remarks of the blank party prefectural forum 25th anniversary celebration. Cares and fires and the taste of honey. The world is filled with people blessed with relationships. Of course, that doesn't mean that everyone is connected to each other. It's obvious that on the other side of the planet, there are people laughing and crying who can't possibly have an effect on you. However, in the extremely limited community of the neighborhood, that sort of connection is just a matter of It's quite possible that a single remarkable event could have massive consequences inside a small community. If you were to increase that scale, a perfect stranger on the other side of the globe might become enough of a legend to have an effect on our lives. Well, it's not always that way. Like I said at the beginning, links between people basically aren't that relevant in the grand scheme of things. Whether some household nearby is having steak or croquettes doesn't matter to me. When I put on my shoes, it doesn't matter to anybody whether I put on the right one or the left. Right one first or the left. This is this much the average person can understand. But actually, in reality, this is the truth. The bonds between people are quite well defined. It's not just a matter of distance, or of being near or far. For example, let's say that person's A's actions have some effect on me. Even then, person B's actions would have absolutely no consequence on my life. The reverse holds true. Just because my actions affect person A doesn't always mean that they affect person B as well. Let's put it bluntly. The bonds between people are like gears in a machine. The gear that represents me meshes with some people, but is isolated from others. There are some who try arguing against this. Those people would bring the example of gears in a clock. Each gear intended only directly message with one or two gears. However, if you rotate one gear, the one next to it is moved, which connects to the next one and to the next, and in the end, all the gears are moving. There's a logic behind this, more than enough to convince the average person. Why is the argument convincing? The answer is simple. The relationships between people are ambiguous and can only be described conceptually. How the gears are connected and how their movements are chained together can't be used as a fundamental explanation, so it throws a wet blanket on that argument. So for people to like that explanation, I'll use the example of a clock again to refute it. First of all, to say that all the world is a singular clock would be wrong. That is, there isn't only one clock. There exist many clocks in the world, each counting their own time. If you think about it, the idea that this world is just one big clock is the height of arrogance. even if you use the analogy of gears to explain human relationships, then you should be able to explain it using the analogy of multiple clocks, unrelated to a single gear. Neighbors A and B. A is a gear in the same clock as me, so it's best to remain civil. Thank you for the head pat, Arlie. B is a gear in a different clock. Thank you. B is a gear in a different clock, so it doesn't really matter to me at all. That's the kind of clear distinction I'm talking about. You want to say I'm being fallacious? Then let's change the analogy to something more familiar, so you can understand. You've probably heard the phrase, a fire on the opposite shore, sometime in your life, no? For example, if your neighbor's house was on fire, you'd probably try to help put it out, wouldn't you? It'd be awful if the fire spread and burned down your house, after all. But what if the fire was in a town on the opposite side of a river? Would you still go out of your way to help? You wouldn't, would you? Even though it'd be the wrong thing to do. There's no way the fire could spread to your own house. Even if it turned into a huge conflagration, there's no relation between the houses that it will spread to and yours, and those that won't. With this basic example, you should be able to see the difference between gears that are or aren't related to your own. Having said that, there's still a lot to think about. Even without a river to divide it, after all, it's not a spatial problem, like being on the other side of the river, is it? Interesting. Chick in the trunk. The car had stopped, but he didn't know any more than that. Not only was he blindfolded, but locked in the trunk of the car. How could people become this powerless just by being robbed of their sight? He absolutely wouldn't have known this without experiencing it firsthand. He soon realized it was pointless to try and undo his bonds, with the confines of the trunk making him lightheaded. He had no choice but to let his mild torture dull his senses. That's why, when the car stopped and the unpleasant vibration ceased as the engine was killed, he couldn't help but delude himself that he was being set free, even though nothing had been resolved in reality. Of course, he was soon removed from that delusion. He restrained his fears when he heard He restrained his ears when he heard one of the men who had abducted him and an older man he was hearing for the first time strike up a conversation. Nice to meet you. The chick is in the trunk. He struggled so much that he's probably exhausted right now. But there's not a mark on him, just disordered. No, must have been a handful. The trunk opened, letting in a blast of fresh, cool air. Even though, up till now, he had just been thinking about getting out of that stuffy trunk, when it was actually opened, he suddenly became uneasy. Enough so that he wished that the lid of the trunk would once again close, separating himself from them. Suddenly, someone stroked his head. Of course, because he was blindfolded, he couldn't tell if the hand was petting him was simply evaluating how easy it would be to remove his scalp. Unable to tell the difference, he only froze and imagined the worst-case scenario. Poor little bugger. He's shaken. And you stay calm for a bit. The older man said that kindly as he gently stroked the boy's head. This must be real tough for ya, but you see, your Gramps is a nice man. He'll help you soon enough. Having heard nothing but the average standard dialect his whole life, the older man's distinct intonation left a deep impression on the boy. But he had no idea what he was saying. For your Gramps to register as meaning your grandfather took a while to process. Eventually, the hand that was stroking his head loosened the blindfold. Can't keep his eyes covered. If he splits his face open, that'd be bad. No, I'm with you. We might as well take out the gag. He can't breathe like that. There'll be trouble if he yells. Leave him to us. You guys don't know how to treat somebody. The main family said no rough stuff. You better remember that well. Yeah, we won't do anything stupid. As long as the kid cooperates, that is. The man's hand prodded roughly and repeatedly at the boy's head. A ragged hand, unlike the affectionate one that had been stroking his head before. Just stay cooperative. If you struggle, there's no guarantee what will happen. That cliche threat was literally beaten into his head. Alright, that's all of them. And save. Often. Oh, I know. I want to move you. I want to move me around. Hi. Thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight. I'll be live tomorrow. I'll probably start streaming at like around 3. And then I'll probably play some stuff. And then, I have a, Love Chew collab. So yeah, we'll do that. Anyway, thanks for hanging out with me tonight. Didn't sleep yet. Sorry about that. My voice was a little... Good night, radio. Yeah, I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Take care.